Hello and welcome to this read aloud. We're going to keep it going with Aida Salazar. And before I let Aida introduce herself, we are the Story Sunbirds, as you know, and we're a kidlit collective of authors and illustrators whose mission is to cultivate a dynamic and inclusive community rooted in justice, anti-racism, and anti-colonialism. We are all about children. That's what we're here for today and always. 1 year ago today, the Children of Gaza held a press conference outside Al-Shifa Hospital to ask for an end to the war. So today's event is part of Children's Days of Action with a bunch of organizations to commemorate that. And so ours is this read aloud that's going to go until 7 p.m. Eastern today. There's a lineup in the chat. And we're also fundraising for Middle East Children's Alliance, doing wonderful work for the families and the steadfastness of Palestinian families with a lot of their basic needs. And so if you're able to donate today and can email us at storysunbirds@gmail.com, your receipt of donation, you'll be entered to win one of the books that one of us is giving away that are really fantastic. And we're welcoming Aida. And before she tells us about herself, I just want you all to know that, of course, this is a collective and we've come together, but it's to make Aida's dream happen. So for this event, she dreamed up the idea of a day-long read aloud, and she's been working tirelessly behind the scenes to make it happen in every single way. So, and she's an incredible author you've probably known, heard of, and tuned in for. So take it away.
Oh, thank you so much. And yes, it comes from a place of love and solidarity with the children of Palestine and my colleagues in the kidlit space who are fearless and beautiful and just doing so much to make the world a better place. All right, so I'm going to share my screen, of course, because we gotta complicate things. All right. And I'm going to read to you from Jovita Wore Pants, Story of a Mexican Freedom Fighter. And I always love to start with this, with the end pages, because I love this image, but also because I like to put a picture of Molly Mendoza. Molly Mendoza is the illustrator of this wonderful book, and I'm so proud of them because they won a Caldecott honor for this book, and it's just yeah, I'll tell you a little bit more about where it comes from in just a bit, but let's just get going. Jovita dreamed of wearing pants like her brothers Ramon and Luciano. As was expected in rural Mexico in the 1910s, Abuela made Jovita and her sisters wear big skirts. Jovita hated the way they tangled like weeds around her legs as she scaled the tallest mesquite tree in Rancho Palos Blancos. She wanted to ride Morongo and feel the wind curl her face into a smile. Each morning, Jovita snuck out to tend the animals on the rancho and race Ramon. When she was well out of sight, she tucked her skirts into her bloomers. With her makeshift pants, Jovita could leap and easily outrun her brother. Sorry. Together, they explored the campo. Jovita discovered the way leaves rustle when rain is coming, where healing plants grow, the shape of every cave and what might lurk inside, scorpions, coyotes, wolves, rattlers. She followed the rollicking rivers that gave fish and clean water. She listened to the songs of the cenzontles and the morning doves, a gentle coo-cooing. Coo, coo. As Jovita grew, she heard whispers of a revolution in Mexico. The government had made laws that took power away from the Catholic Church and prevented people from practicing religion freely. Papa joined the Cristeros, the revolutionaries fighting for their rights against the Federation, and rode into the Sierra with Luciano and Ramon. Jovita was left behind, but she dreamed of accompanying her father and brothers and riding Morongo toward freedom. One day, When Jovita was out with her abuela and sisters, the government soldiers came to Palos Blancos in a fiery rage. The family returned home to find ashes where their house had been and the barn still smoking. Jovita rushed abuela and her sisters to the caves she knew so well. As soon as it was safe, they moved to another rancho where Jovita formed a plan. Of course, Jovita would make a good soldier. She was wise about the countryside, could ride better than most men, and was not afraid. The next time Papa returned from the battlefield, she made her case. Papa agreed to take Jovita, but only to observe. He would never let her fire a shot or wear pants. Jovita memorized Papa's strategies as they sat by the campfire eating what they'd hunted. Beneath a blanket of shimmering stars, she understood that La Sierra de Morones would always be their friend. When Jovita was 15, government soldiers captured her and demanded information about Papa. No matter how they hurt her, she stayed as strong as a mountain and did not give him up. With the stealth of a fox, Jovita escaped into the moonlight, finding her way home to Abuela, guided by the silvery shadows of the sierra she knew so well. Then, one terrible day, soon after Jovita returned home, the government killed Luciano. In her sadness, Jovita pushed again to become a soldier, but Papa refused. Jovita, her sisters, and abuela were scattered like pollen across Mexico, forced to live with different relatives so they could be safe. After a few years, the family reunited and the fighting calmed. Religion was practiced freely once more, but old war grudges remained. The government still met at Papa and his revolutionaries, found Papa and Ramon, and engulfed them in a storm of bullets. Jovita never saw them alive again. Sorrow swirled inside Jovita's heart. Her sadness found sympathy with other cristeros who met one evening to form a plan for justice. When she returned, Jovita cut her long hair short. Next, she put on Ramon's cotton shirt, overalls, riding boots, and a wide-brimmed straw hat. Jovita was reborn a pants-wearing colonel named Juan. She was ready to reignite the revolution. Juan rode into La Sierra de Morones with 80 soldiers and her dog. Her soldiers agreed if the government could kill cristeros during a time of peace, their right to practice religion was still not safe. Juan would lead them to victory. Juan knew where to graze their horses in every green, grassy field and how to find the mesas so big they shot straight up to touch the sky. She could close her eyes and name every spring that grew out of the earth and the ways the rivers and streams wrapped like necklaces along the mountains. As Juan, Jovita could finally wear pants while breathing in the clean Sierra morning air, ready to fulfill her mission of justice. Jovita's peasant army fought dangerous battles against the powerful government. Her skills were sharp. She listened closely to her dog's warnings when the enemy was near and rode flat on her belly while shooting. Her knowledge of the secrets of the land helped them win or escape each time. They fought hard for 6 years, and finally, the Federation offered Jovita a truce. She weighed her options and thought of her loved ones. She had won many battles, but had also seen the loss of many lives. Jovita decided to surrender peacefully to the government. Word of Jovita's courage spread like wildfire across the Sierra. She had become so well known that a songwriter composed a corrido in her honor. President Cárdenas insisted on meeting the colonel who had given them such a hard time on the battlefield. Jovita strode out of that room, a proud revolutionary fighter. She had surrendered one battle, but won another. She wore a wide-brimmed hat, a long-sleeved cotton shirt, riding boots, and a crisp pair of new blue jeans. She wore them well, like she always dreamed. All right. Can you hear me?
We sure can, and we
Okay,
want
good.
to hear more from you.
Okay, okay, good. And this is a story of Jovita Valdovinos, who was my distant great aunt. She uh, it was a real life person, and you can see her, the image of her here. And this was her in 1935, nearly 100 years ago. And oh, here we go. And this is Jovita, some close-ups of her, of Jovita dressed as a man. And during the 1930s and 20s and 30s and 10s, this was really an uncommon practice. And, you know, the story of Jovita takes place in this area here, which is La Sierra de Morones. This is the place where I am indigenous to, where my family and Jovita's family lived side by side along a river. And so uh, this is some pictures of Jovita. I'm going to show you some pictures of my relatives. Jovita as dressed in her femmed out gear, and this is her father. Some paintings of her father and her grandmother and her siblings, because all of the photographs were burned. So during the raid on her family. But this is my mom over here on the left, and then my grandparents, my grandfather who's seated, and my grandmother. But my grandfather was the son of the man on the left. On the picture on the left, I'm on the right and on the left. And Jovita's father, Teófilo Valdovinos, is in the middle. And so my great grandfather and Jovita's father were cousins. And you can see their resemblance so much right there. These beautiful indigenous men. And this is a picture of Jovita. She grew to be an elder and died at 80 years old, I think, in 1996. And this is her tombstone. And a child once said, "Is that where she's buried in the earth?" And I love that expression so much. All right. Thank you.
That is incredible. And the illustrations by Molly Mendoza are as well. And I'm going to make up some of the time. So we do have time for
Oh,
some
cool.
questions for you. And I have one, but so does Amna from the chat. I
Okay.
love that this is based on a real person. Do you have to do a lot of family research? Are they okay with you sharing family history?
Yes, yes, yes. I had to do a lot of family history. Of course, I had to go back to Mexico where I was born, and I interviewed as many people that were still alive. And the interviews I conducted, Jovita was sometimes a villain in people's eyes, because part of being a revolutionary was that they had to steal, and they ended up killing people who were on the other side of the Federation. And so there are a lot of war grudges that still remain in Mexico. So there was a lot of mixed stories about her, but some of the most audacious, some of the most amazing stories that I heard of Jovita were from people who who understood her courage, the courage that it took to do what she did during that time. But also, I should say that Jovita wrote her own biography, because people would write about her, and she didn't want other people to write about her. And in her autobiography, which was actually, she dictated to one of my cousins, um, and who compiled it. And one of the lines in there was, "I long to wear pants like my brothers Ramon and Luciano," which that's what started the entire book. And there's a saying in Spanish: "She wears her pants well," or which tiene los pantalones bien puestos, which means they wear their pants well. And it just means somebody with a lot of like gumption, a lot of valor. And I thought it would be, a perfect title for this book. So.
Oh, that is incredible. And you wear your pants well, Aida. And just as we close, would you be willing to tell us how your family history has influenced you both as a writer and in your passion for social justice and change?
Yeah, yeah. My mom introduced me to Jovita's memoir when I was about 19 and actually told me, you got to go meet your tia Jovita. She was still alive and she would come to the United States a lot. And I was like too busy raving, too busy like being 19 and out of touch. And so I didn't get to meet her. It's one of the biggest um, regrets that I have. But reading her memoir, it kind of, I mean, my mother was very much about justice, very much about compassion and love and helping others, and I think that she got that from her father, who was a cristero, who's a revolutionary along with Jovita. And so that comes, I think, down from that line of resistance fighters, and knowing that what we do to one another, it is critical in making a just and peaceful world. So yeah, I got it in the blood. I can't help it.
Embody that. Thank you for being here. And as I close us out, if you can put your information in the chat, or
Mm.
Alex will, for us, so that folks can follow you and what you're up to on Instagram. And by the way, Story Sunbirds is on Instagram. We'll share that as well. And we have a Substack newsletter. And just thank you for your heart and your action, Aida, and showing us the way. And part of what we're doing today is raising money for Mecca for Peace, which is the Middle East Children's Alliance. And so we've got a link to that specific fundraiser. We've already raised quite a bit. Aida, do you want to tell them how much?
Yes, we raised $950. Thank you everybody for your donations. You're all entered into the raffle, so thank you.
And so
Thank
if
you.
you are able to do that anytime today, then just email us at storysunbirds@gmail.com, some receipt of your donation, a screenshot, and yes, you'll be entered to win one of the many books being given away by all of us. And so that's just an incentive to help children in Gaza right now. And wait, we answered questions. Okay, great. And so I'm actually next. So I just want to close this out by saying thank you so much, Aida, and thanks for everybody for tuning in.
Bye.